Welcome to episode 160 of the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. I'm Ashley Scott Myers, screenwriter and blogger over at sellingyourscreenplay.com. Today I'm interviewing screenwriter and director Alexander Babaev. He just did a horror thriller film called The Bornless Ones. We walked through his early days as a student, a film student, and then how he eventually came into writing and directing this first feature film. So stay tuned for that. If you find this episode valuable, please help me out by giving me a review in iTunes or leaving a comment on YouTube or retweeting the podcast on Twitter or liking it on Facebook. These social media shares really do help spread word about the podcast, so they're very much appreciated. Any websites or links that I mention in the podcast can be found on my blog in the show notes. I also publish a transcript with every episode in case you'd rather read the show or look at something later on. You can find all the podcast show notes at www.sellingyourscreenplay.com/podcast. And then just look for episode number 160. If you want my free guide, How to Sell a Screenplay in 5 Weeks, you can pick that up by going to sellingyourscreenplay.com/guide. It's completely free. You just put in your email address and I'll send you a new lesson once per week for 5 weeks, along with a whole bunch of bonus lessons. I teach the whole process of how to sell your screenplay in that guide. I'll teach you how to write a professional logline and query letter and how to find agents, managers, and producers who are looking for material. Really is everything you need to know to sell your screenplay. Just go to sellingyourscreenplay.com/guide. Quick few words about what I'm working on. So once again, the main thing I'm working on is post-production on my crime action thriller feature film, The Pinch. I'm going to be doing a reshoot this Sunday. I'm going to be doing a quick day of reshoots. It's going to be establishing shots, some close-ups, some inserts, just to kind of make the movie flow together, kind of bridge some gaps. When you're on the day of actual shooting, I had a friend who's a writer-director, and he gave me, the one piece of advice he gave me before I started shooting was, really make sure you get a lot of inserts because they're always useful in editing. And I tried to do that as much as I could, but I definitely missed some. And inserts are pretty easy to get, especially on the day you're shooting, because it's just a matter of dragging the camera over there and getting a few seconds of footage on a close-up of a gun or a close-up of some feet, just something to kind of give the editor a little bit to way of editing away from stuff. Sometimes there's some bad sound, bad performance, something goes wrong in the main master or the close-up. And if you have some of these inserts, it's just a good way to kind of get around some of that. So there's a couple places where we need these inserts. As I said, they're not that hard to do. They're a little harder now to do since, we're not in production mode. But I basically have a camera guy. It's just going to basically be me, a camera guy, and we're going to go out and get establishing shots, some exteriors of buildings, just to kind of, as I said, just bridge some of those gaps and kind of reinforce some of those situations where people aren't quite sure, well, what building is this, or what office are they in now? We'll get these establishing shots and then reuse them a couple of times in the movie to kind of set that up. And then, as I said, a couple of inserts. I have one actress coming out, and we're going to do, there's a shot that we missed, and I really would have liked to get it, and I think it's going to be worth getting. That's probably the most difficult shot I'm going to get, but it's basically the bad guys go into the house, so we're going to see the door close, and then we're going to pan over, and we're going to see her walking towards the house. And this just sets up some of the tension, is that she's basically walking into a trap. So that's the idea. And as I said, for whatever reason, we weren't able to get that shot on the day. We shot it, but it doesn't work the way we shot it. We did it from a different angle, and it just, as I said, it just didn't quite work. Just the geography of the way the house is laid out and stuff, it makes it feel a little bit too cramped, and the time just doesn't quite work in the edited version we have now. So anyways, that's this Sunday, but things are going along. I mean, I'm very, very close to having a locked picture. I think once we get these inserts, we'll probably pump out another draft of the rough cut, and hopefully that will be pretty much locked picture. There might be a few other tweaks, but so hopefully in another week or two I will be at locked picture, and then we'll be moving on from there. So that's the main thing I'm working on. Now let's get into the main segment of the podcast. Today I'm interviewing screenwriter and director Alexander Babaev. Here is the interview. Welcome, Alex, to the Selling Your Screenplay podcast. I really appreciate you coming on the show with me today.
Hey man, thanks for having me. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So maybe to start out, you can just give us a little bit of background, kind of how you got into the entertainment industry. Maybe even take us back to your, formative years as a child. Were you one of these kids running around shooting films with your parents' video camera? Kind of give us your backstory.
Yeah, I was one of these guys, but I grew up in a small town in Russia.
Okay.
So, and I was always dreaming to become a filmmaker, but it's just like the industry doesn't exist in my town. So, becoming a filmmaker when I grew up, it's something from your dreams, it's something miraculous. Mm-hmm. So yeah, but I shot like a few things when I was like a kid, and then the whole thing, I went to college, I studied economy and international business, and it kind of got me sucked in, and there was no even I didn't even think it's actually possible to become a filmmaker, because I was in Russia and there's no one shooting films out there. And then I came over here to study English, actually, just a little bit for a few months, and I met some people who were actually doing stuff like that. They were shooting movies and writing screenplays, and I was like, oh my god, it's actually amazing. It's not something, it's not impossible. Mm-hmm. And I found my school, which is called New York Film Academy. So I applied there. I was like 22, I think, already when I started. So yeah, and I got an MFA in New York Film Academy, filmmaking. And after that, I just, I was trying hard to get something done, man. And, I was struggling with finding the right idea and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I noticed on your IMDb page, you have a ton of short films that you've worked on various positions, first AD, and you've also written and directed some short films. Maybe you can talk about those a little bit. That's something I recommend to filmmakers as they're coming up. And I'd be curious just to get your kind of take on how those short films helped you and helped build and shape your career.
Sure. So New York Film Academy is very hands-on school. So when you get there, I had nothing to do with filmmaking whatsoever. I had no idea what the camera is, what is a director, was a DP. So what they do, they basically toss you on set. They give you your collaborators, people you worked with and for. So and this little four crew kind of people, 4 people crews, just go around town and shoot whatever we can. And I think I shot about 5 to 6 short films, and 2 of them were actually short films where I would invest some money. I think my first big short film was $4,000 and then $10,000, and basically all my experience that I got in school. And after school, I shot a few music videos, and my focus was to shoot a feature film, basically whatever it is, just to kind of your first feature film is like a test for a director. If you are able to find money, if you're able to finish, a screenplay, and you're able to actually make it happen, it's kind of a test for me. So it was my first goal to do that. But of course, short films that did help me so much, just because I met some people on the way to this feature film. One of the producers, actually my partner, who also plays Jesse in the film. His name is Devin Goodsell. He was the guy that I cast for one of my short films. And he was actually the guy who came over to me after I finished school, and he was like, "Man, I have access to this house in Tennessee in the woods. Let's write a screenplay. Let's write a screenplay around the house." And I was like, "Sure, man, let's do it." Uh-huh. So that's how we started.
Okay, perfect. And I noticed too, you edited Bornless ones, and we're going to get into that. You've edited a bunch of things. Are all of these skills things that you acquired on at New York Film Academy? Just you would take an editing class, so you learned a little bit about that?
Pretty much. Then I also edited all my shorts, and then when I got out of school, I had to pay bills and stuff like that. So I started working on any set I could. Basically, I somehow never worked as a PA. I just kind of got to this first ADing gig, and I already shot maybe 20 to 25 projects as a first AD. And I was producing some Russian music videos, and I would edit a lot of stuff that I would first AD, because I had some skills, some directors from school, and they weren't as experienced as I am, so they would be like, "Since you know the film, man, would you be willing to edit it as well?" I was like, "Sure." Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, it's about Bornless ones. I really didn't want to edit it myself. I really wanted to have a collaborator step in and collaborate with me and bring in some creativity. It just didn't work out for us.
Yeah. Now, let's talk just a brief minute about some of those early jobs as first AD, getting the gigs as directing music videos and stuff. How did you get those gigs? Again, I have a lot of people coming to selling a screenplay that they want that first kind of break into the industry. Maybe you can just give us a little background of specifically how you got some of those jobs. And were they even paid jobs? I'm sure some of them early on probably weren't even paid.
No, some of them weren't paid for sure. And especially first AD gigs that I would be just... Basically, I would do favors to my friends so they can work on my stuff after for free. I'm still doing this. I'm shooting a short film next week, and it's for the production company. The budget is very tight, and I can call people and be like, "Man, I worked on yours. Please work for me for free this time." And work for my project, I will work on yours, next month. And we still do it. And the first, I'm kind of a little bit in a unique position since I'm Russian and I have like a lot of connections in Russia that I got like here already, because people from the industry from Russia come here, meet me somehow, and then, people start talking, and then we're looking for some, like a Russian guy who can, set up some things here, get equipment, blah, blah, blah. So they would reach out to me, and that's how it started. But first ADing, I just first did a lot for my classmates, and then, I was kind of like the go-to guy in school. If you want someone to first do your film and be like very attached to a project, that's who I was. So a lot of people were, connecting me through school, and then it just like the word came out, and I shot a few feature films. Actually, what happened as well, I had a crew, right? My people that I always worked with, we all shot Bornless once. They would get me on board of their projects, and I would get them on board, the projects I work on. And it's all like this family kind of crew, family feel that we just try to get each other as much gigs as we can. And that's pretty much it. I was just working all the time and just like on every project that I could.
Perfect. So let's dig into Bornless ones. Maybe to start out, you can give us a pitch or a log line of the film, and I always link to the trailer so people can check that out. But maybe just a quick pitch for people.
Yeah. So Bornless one is about Emily, her mom recently died, and she has taken full responsibility over her little brother who is suffering with cerebral palsy, like a very bad cerebral palsy. So basically, and it's hard for her to take care of him. So what she does, her and her fiance Jesse, they purchased like an inexpensive house in the woods next to the institution that actually is researching those type of disabilities. So, and they move out there with some other friends that just agreed to help them out with like fixing and rebuilding the house. And when they get to the house, they find a bunch of demonic symbols all over the place. And the first thing they do is they get rid of those demonic symbols. And by doing that, they unleash the demons that were summoned in this house by a lady who used to live there before them. She summoned those demons to cure her daughter, to heal her because the daughter was dying, but it never worked out. So the demons were trapped there, because the house was, blocked by those sigils that we find in the house. And when they get rid of them, they release the demons, and the first person to be possessed is Zach, is the boy who has cerebral palsy. So what happens with him? He starts walking, and he's able to talk, but for the price of being possessed. Mm-hmm. And then demons move from a person to a person, and they all struggle to survive and meet their darkest fears and stuff like that.
Perfect. So where did this idea come from? You had mentioned that your partner had access to the house, but where did sort of the idea for a script come from?
So we knew we wanted a horror film. We knew we wanted something very contained, but we were trying to find some unique mythology behind those, behind whatever is happening. So I started researching a lot, spending days, and I found this mythology, which is based on a book called Goetia. That was the original name of the film as well. It's basically, if we're talking about demonology as a science, it's like the closest book to it's a go-to book for every demonology interested people. So it was apparently written by King Solomon, who was a wizard in some legends, and he created this book with 72 demons in this book that live in hell, and you can summon them. And they all serve different purposes. So you basically can summon them to help you, to heal someone, to get you some knowledge. And I found it very interesting because I've never really seen this mythology being used in horror films. And every demon has a specific sigil, like a sign that they have. That's how you control them, and that's how you summon them, by using those signs. Mm-hmm. And so, we had a house, and we knew we needed something to create something like that. So people are trapped in the house. Another thing was, I actually watched The Prisoners with Hugh Jackman and Jake Gyllenhaal, and there was this mentally disabled boy, by using this character, they create a lot of suspense and a lot of nice, unique plot points. And I felt having a disabled person that has so much, on the scale, being possessed, but being able to talk and walk, or keep being what you are, which is, because cerebral palsy is like the worst thing ever, because you can actually understand everything that's happening around you. You just cannot, control your muscles. You cannot express yourself anyhow. So those, this few things came together. We actually lost the house that we originally had. We just found another one, and but yeah, it's like, perfect like example of, backwards producing pretty much. When you have something and you create story around it and you research and, get it all together as a puzzle.
And did you still end up shooting in Tennessee?
No, we shot it here, 40 miles away from Los Angeles.
Okay, perfect. So I'm curious, you said, well, we want to do a horror film. Why did you decide on that? What was your logic behind deciding early on that you did want to do a horror film?
Mm-hmm. Just, based on my knowledge of the industry, of the filmmaking industry, the easiest thing to shoot is the horror film, just because it's usually a contained, story. It's limited cast, it's limited number of locations, and we knew that we cannot afford, any A-lister or B-lister to be in our film. So there's, and you have to go with a genre film. At this point, you have to shoot genre films to sell them and have them out there, because there's an audience for them. And if you wanted to shoot La La Land with, no A-listers, there's no way you're gonna succeed. It's probably gonna be shelved somewhere. So that's what I knew. I'm still not sure if it's true or not. It's just, what people talk about. And I just love horror films. I am a fan. And, basically when you create a film like that, I think, all you want is some people somewhere just to watch your film with beer and popcorn, and just enjoy it. It should be, amusing. And it was never a film that was supposed to be revolutionary, changing people's lives. It was just this amusing piece of, of a nice, well done horror film that we wanted to have like a roller coaster. And I really wanted to, get this like 80s kind of feeling in it. So there's almost no CGI. Every all blood, everything, is made, it's special effects. There's no visual effects. And I also, like, there's so much PG-13 horror out right now that I really wanted to create something with, with dark comedy, with sex, with a lot of blood, with gore. Just go, all the way in, man. So that's why we decided to go with a horror film.
Yeah. Now, in some of these short films that you had you done horror films? One of the things that struck me about this film, and I think it was really well written, well structured, all this was great, but like the special effects were really good, especially for a low-budget horror movie. Sometimes they can get super cheeseball, and you did a good job. Whoever your makeup artist was did a good job. They were very, very convincing. Was that something you kind of had a background in, like you had a special effects guy you knew you could count on going into this?
Not really. Honestly, I shot one horror film that wasn't really heavy on makeup, but then I met this girl on another set. Her name is Christina Ellery, and she was attached to another project, and I just saw some stuff that she did. And she was just kind of starting out as well to become like this key makeup artist, that creates a lot of amazing creatures and, just great looking prosthetics. And she, like, I knew what the film is about, and so when we were budgeting the film, I was like, guys, we need to spend as much money as we can on special effects, because this is our unique thing. That's something we have to make sure is gonna look nice, because lighting, if it looks beautiful, it looks beautiful. But I specifically, put more money in special effects than for equipment, for example, or for better lenses, because we knew that's our selling point, and people love watching this stuff. I love watching this stuff, especially when it's well done.
Yeah. So let's talk about your writing process a little bit. I would be curious, how much time do you spend preparing to write versus actually opening final draft and writing the script? Basically, the outlining stage, the thinking stage, the outlining stage versus the actual typing into final draft stage. Mm-hmm.
So I'd say that it's always different. Sometimes I would, I wrote this last script of mine in 2 weeks. And I didn't even outline it at all. It's a first draft, of course, but I think it's pretty decent. So for Bornless ones, I think I researched for about a month, all the demonic mythology and stuff like that, and there was no outline too. It was just something we had, like a general idea, and I was like, guys, I'm just gonna go for it, because we needed to go as quick as possible, because using the momentum, and I was very lucky with my friends willing to kind of invest in the film, even though a lot of them were not from the film industry, and they are not. So, and basically they were ready to give me money, just a little bit of money, when there was no script even. So we never had like a green light process. It was just something like, I knew I have the money and I need to finish it as soon as possible so we can, start the production. I think totally we spent about 4 months for the script, like in total. And but there was never outline. I think I finished the first draft in like a month and a half after the research finished. And I was just sending like pages to my producer, like 10 pages today, then in 2 weeks, like 20 more pages, and then we started, developing it after I finished the first.
And so once you get into a groove writing like that, how much do you write per day? Do you write, is it a page count? Do you write for 8 hours, 10 hours? What does your actual day look like when you're writing?
I try to just spend as much time as I can. If I know I need to get something done as quick as possible, I just wake up at 8, have breakfast, and I sit down and write until evening, with breaks for lunch and stuff like that. When I can, of course. And sometimes I would. It's weird, sometimes I would sit the whole day and just write 1 page, which is shit, and sometimes you just sit down and you write 20 pages a day, and they're pretty decent. Like, that's how I finished it, honestly. Like, when I finished the script, I had the first draft, I had no idea I'm going to finish today. I was just typing, and then I went the end, and then I realized I just finished the script. I think I wrote like 15 pages that day, but sometimes you just spend a week and you write 2 pages. It happens too, I think it's, with everyone.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the genre requirements. You knew you were going to make a horror film. Are there certain things that did you talk to some distributors? I mean, like action films, it's very common for distributors to say you need an action scene every 10 pages. And I would imagine there's probably a laundry list of things that horror movies need to contain as well. And I'm curious how you approach that. Was it more just instinct? You watch a lot of horror movies, you're a horror movie fan, or was there some real light post sort of that you just had to hit along the way?
Mm-hmm. Thing is, I didn't have any connections in Hollywood. I was just straight out of film school, and I just went completely with my instinct. What I wanted to do is have shit start happening as soon as possible. All I wanted to do is set up the situation and actors, and just and get them into the world of possession. And I think this actually worked out. So honestly, I mean, I read books, of course, in school and after school. I used to Save the Cat a lot as your beat sheet. And, but no, I didn't really know, there was no structure for me that there should be something happening every 5 minutes. I just went with it and, just completely relying on my instincts.
Okay. And what is your development process like? You mentioned that you didn't know you were going to finish. You typed to the end. Did you then go back and do some polishing on it before you got notes, or did you just emailed it off to your partner and start doing that development process?
The first draft I emailed only to my partner, and I knew it needs polishing as well, because usually you would change stuff on the way when you go to the end of the script, and you have to go back and redo this stuff. So I think the first draft I just sent over to my producer, knowing that I need to polish a lot of things in the beginning, and then we just started. There was I think the most difficult thing in horror films is the rules of the world, because a lot of horror films I watch right now, there's no explanation why the thing that actually happens at this moment. So, and it always pisses me off. And I was trying to figure out how to explain to everyone why this person is being possessed at this particular moment. Why the ghost appears next to your bed at this moment. And it's always the most difficult things to do, because you're creating the whole world, right? It's only you. And and I think we had 6 drafts total. The first one, the second one was just me and my partner, and then we started sending it out to our, other people who worked with us, line producer, and even my DP, the guy was attached, in an early stage, and and we just, we were writing, and I had some troubles with the ending, and one day we just went to my producer's place with a few friends, and we started brainstorming for 3 hours just to nail the ending, and it actually happened, and we worked it out, and I think that's when that's when everything, got into its places, and I just rewrote it the last time, and we jumped straight into production.
Okay. And you mentioned this felt like a well-structured film. As you say, once you kind of got that ball rolling, it moved very nicely. And I'm curious, you mentioned Save the Cat. Are there some other books that you have read that you would recommend to up-and-coming screenwriters?
Not exactly for screenwriters, because I've read a few. I don't think I have used any advices from other books apart from Save the Cat, Because Save the Cat is very, very technical, and sometimes I think that's what you need to, organize yourself. Because you can do whatever you want. Like, no one tells you what to do. There's no formula of creating a script, right? But they kind of give you a start. And I knew, an approximate structure of what to do, where, and when it's better to have this plot, turning this way. And I basically only use Save the Cat. I cannot say I really relied on it as well. I knew the book, and I would sometimes reread what they say about the structure, try to kind of work it out with my script. And I think I did rewrite some, shifted things around just to hit the structure a little better.
And just a couple follow-up questions on the movie. Did you, someone in your life, brother, sister, cousin, uncle, have cerebral palsy? I've never, had a family member or friend with that disability, so it would be tough for me to write that. How did you get into that and learn about it? Was it just research, or did you actually know someone that had that ailment?
It was research. Also, my wife, she used to study as a special psychologist in Russia, and the whole class, they would go to the institutions or hospitals where they take care of people with cerebral palsy and other mental diseases and stuff, and mental disabilities, and she would just tell me stories. So that's what I based my research on as well, because I knew just a little bit of a background because my wife was, going to those places. But I don't have, thanks God, I don't have anyone who has that. I have one friend who broke his neck, which pretty much is the same. It's kind of the same thing. He was like 25 and he broke his neck, and then like the impulse from his brain cannot go through his spine anymore, so he can't control his muscles at all. So, and it really influenced me because he was the coolest and like the most funny guy in the world. He was, he's my friend, and I cannot say I based the character on him or anything like that, but I think there was some influence from there.
Okay. And another question, and I get a lot of screenwriters from outside of the U.S. and even outside English-speaking countries. You had mentioned that you came over here, I guess, at 22 to study English, so English is not your native language. Are there any tips for writers that want to, potentially write in English? Do you have some sort of a process? Do you feel at all self-conscious when you're writing in English? Is there a process that you have somebody? I get a lot of people that come in, they want to use like the proofreading service, and I'm always hesitant because the service we offer is not really that, it's not really meant quite for that. But I'd just be curious to get your thoughts on, coming here from another country, not necessarily speaking the language fluently, and still making a go of it in Hollywood.
Yeah, I think your English skills is not the most important thing when you're writing a screenplay. So it's still about the structure. So what I do, I would just write everything that I feel. I mean, I have enough vocabulary to explain what I want, but sometimes it feels a little quirky, it feels a little off. And what I do, I just send it to my friends that are willing to help me out for free because they're, I help them out, they help me out. And I just send it over to them, and sometimes I'd be like, man, I feel like this line could be said, so much different and like just sound better. And we would brainstorm it, and I also do the same with the actors all the time. So when we have a table read, I'm just like, guys, it's not my first language. I wrote the whole thing, so please, if you feel like there is a way for you to express what we want here differently in a better way, just please let me know. And I'm trying to collaborate with everyone. That's how it happens.
Okay, perfect. So now you had mentioned that it sounds like this was kind of a little bit of a reversal, as typically someone finishes the script and then goes out and tries to raise money. It sounds like you already had some of that funding in place. Maybe you can just speak a little bit about how you got those people to, have confidence in you and agree to put up some money, and just, what was that process like exactly?
Mm-hmm. I can say I was very lucky. And first of all, the producer of the film and also a star, Devin, he works in IT, and so he wanted to act, I wanted to direct, and we basically came to an agreement. So he's going to be in the film, and he's the guy who reached out to me first time about the cabin in the woods. And so and we both did the whole thing together, and he put some money into it, I put some of my own money into it as well, a little chunk, and then I just had a few friends who are, there's people who are just interested in the industry, and they have nothing to do with it. They work in completely different areas like retail, but they've had some money, and they were just interested, to become a producer, to be a part of the whole, magic filmmaking feeling. And I was just lucky enough to be able to convince them to, invest in me and tell them that, we'll get your money back, and I'm doing all I can. I work every day of my life to become what I'm trying to do. Honestly, I was just super lucky. Like I don't think there's a formula of how to raise money for your first film or for the second one, because I didn't have any production companies attached, no pre-sales. I had no business plan. I had no idea what I'm going to do after I finished the film. Even after post, we had no idea. We just went to AFM and kind of showed the trailer to everyone we could.
Okay, and that's how you eventually got hooked up with your distributor, correct?
Yeah, we went to AFM. We knocked on every door with a laptop and a trailer on it that I cut myself, and we showed it to everyone we could. And then we had a few sales reps that were willing to represent us. And then we met with them and signed a contract with one of them. He's called High Octane Pictures. And then he goes to festivals and sells the film, and that's how we got an offer from Uncorked, and now Uncorked is releasing our film here in the U.S.
Okay. Did you do anything with festivals? There's like a whole horror film, film festivals specific to horror films and stuff. Did you try and approach some of those and go that route at first?
We did. We actually did it after AFM already, because basically when AFM happened, which is American Film Market, I didn't really have a locked cut yet, because I spent a lot of time working with other editors and it didn't work out somehow, and so I had to start from scratch. And the AFM was coming, and we wanted to get the film out there already. So we went there, talked to people, and then I finished the film, and then we started applying for festivals. Because October was coming, which is Halloween. I mean, it was like half a year before October. Of course, you have to apply half a year before. And we applied. Honestly, we ran out of money, and it feels like festivals are not expensive, and they are not really. But if you're talking about 10 festivals, it's already about like $600, So we applied for 10 different festivals, and we got into 3 of them. One is Puerto Rico Horror Film Festival. Another one is the Night of Horror in Australia, Sydney. And we had a premiere in Los Angeles through Downtown LA Film Festival.
Okay. And how did you hone in on those 10 festivals to apply to?
We just used Without the Box, just withoutthebox.com. Okay. They have everything together. You just find the right festivals for you and apply through it. You upload a screener. Bam, it's very, very simple. And then sometimes they respond very quickly. Sometimes they don't respond ever. But you have to pay a fee anyway. So it's an unusual process. Yeah.
And let's just get a sense of the scope. So you went to AFM. Was that in 2015 or 2000? I guess we just had the 2016. So how many years sort of has this been going on?
Yeah, it was 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was 2015. And then we went to a few other markets. We actually sold Malaysia and Indonesia and Brunei. And we had a nationwide theatrical release in Malaysia, which was 65 theaters, which was pretty cool. I didn't even know about it. Someone just reached out to me on Facebook like, man, I just watched your film. I was like, what? Like, yeah. And it was a completely different title, completely different artwork. And I just went to like show times of my film on different theaters in Malaysia. And it was just like, Go on a Train, Magnificent Seven, and my film. And it was crazy. It was like for a month they had they were screening it like 10 times a day. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah. No, that's great. So do you know the release schedule here in the United States and I guess elsewhere for the film? When will it be on video on demand? When will it be maybe at a local theater? Do you know what's going to happen?
Yes. So it's coming out on VOD on February 10th. Okay. Also, it's going to be in some selected theaters in Los Angeles. I don't even know which ones as well. We don't have this information yet. But it's going to be out in some theaters on February 10th as well. February 10th. And the other country that is releasing us is Germany. It's a very big company as well, a very big distributor, but they haven't told us the dates yet.
Okay.
And DVD is coming like in a month after the VOD release.
Okay. And are you on Facebook, Twitter? I always like to just end the interview by asking the guest how people can follow along with what they're doing. So Facebook, Twitter, blog, anything you're comfortable sharing, I will put in the show notes and you can mention now.
Sure, yes. I'm on Facebook and Instagram. My name is Alexander Babaev, Babaev. I'm very accessible, and respond to everyone who wants to find something out. And, I'm always willing to help other indie filmmakers.
So perfect. Well, Alex, I really appreciate this. Excellent interview. Very well done on the film, and I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you, sir. Good luck to you as well. Likewise. Thanks, man.
Thank you. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Bye. just want to mention two things I'm doing at Selling Your Screenplay to help screenwriters find producers who are looking for material. First, I've created a monthly newsletter that will be sent directly to producers. Every member of SYS Select can submit one logline per newsletter. I went and emailed my large database of producers and asked them if they would like to receive this monthly newsletter of pitches. So far, I have well over 350 producers who have signed up to receive it. These producers are hungry for material and happy to read scripts from new writers. So if you want to participate in this pitch newsletter and get your script into the hands of lots of producers, sign up at sellingyourscreenplayselect.com. And secondly, I've partnered with one of the premier paid screenwriting leads sites so I can syndicate these leads to SYS Select members. There are lots of great paid leads coming in each week from our partner. Recently, I've been getting 10 to 12 high-quality paid leads per week. These are producers and production companies who are actively looking to buy material or are looking to hire a screenwriter for a specific project. If you sign up for SYS Select, you'll get these leads emailed directly to you several times per week. These leads run the gamut from production companies looking for a specific type of spec script to producers looking to hire a screenwriter to write up one of their ideas. Producers are looking for shorts, features, TV and web series pilots. It's a huge array of different types of projects that these producers are looking for, and these leads are exclusive to our partner and SYS Select members. To sign up, go to sellingyourscreenplayselect.com. So to wrap things up, I just want to touch on a few things from today's interview with Alex. You know, I talk about this so often that maybe it sounds like a little bit of a broken record. Certainly, if you listen to this podcast a lot, you will you might feel that way. But you know, here's another guy. He didn't wait for opportunity to come to him. He just went out and created opportunity for himself. Now, and this is fantastic. And this is really what I recommend everybody do. Really go and look him up on IMDb and look at what his credentials are and look at his background. And I would highly recommend, too, going and checking out this movie. It's a really well done. I mean, for a really super low budget film, it's a really, really well done film. And I think, you know, even if you're not into this type of film, horror movies, horror thriller movies, even if you're not into those types of films, I think just as a student of film and a student of screenwriting, it's worth looking at this film and kind of just looking at the things he did well and understanding. I mean, the production value of this film is really, really very high, considering, you know, it was done on a very, very low budget. So again, I think this is a great film to watch just purely just as a screenwriter or as a filmmaker to kind of see, gee, how did he go about doing this? Where did he spend his time and his money? And how did he bring all this together? Now, I will warn you, and I've talked about this before on the podcast as well. One of the things I can tell you from my own email and fax blast service, lots of people come and they purchase that, and I do these email and fax blasts. But the big thing is the people that have had success, people that have sold scripts through my email and fax blast, option scripts, you know, gotten writing assignments through my scripts. In almost every single case, the person who has had success is somebody that has some prior experience as a screenwriter. Now, it doesn't have to be huge experience, but it has to be some sort of experience for the most part. There probably have been a few success stories that have trickled in that are not necessarily someone with a lot of experience. But for the most part, the people that have the most success are people that have experience. And I think going and looking at Alex's resume, he was doing a lot of shorts and working on shorts, not just writing and directing shorts, but he was just doing other, you know, jobs on these short films, whether that be first AD or whatever, grip gaffer, cinematographer, editor. I mean, he just had a lot of just varied experience in production experience. And I think that really shows nicely on his film. And so I would urge you, like I hear a lot of people, you run into a lot of these people, they go and they take a loan off their house or they put it on credit cards, they go and make their feature film, they submit to Sundance, and then it's a disaster. And I think that's not what I'm encouraging. I'm encouraging people to go out and make opportunities for themselves, but you should do it in a smart way. And the smart way is looking at Alex's resume and seeing how he did it. This feature film is not just, you know, a shot in the dark. He has a lot of experience and he was able to make this work because of the experience. And I think doing short films is a great way to get that experience. You just learn. You learn from your mistakes. You become better as a filmmaker. You learn the ins and outs of film production, and then ultimately you build up to doing that feature film. I mean, I think if you go again, look him up on IMDb. I mean, I think he's written and directed, a half dozen, close to a half dozen shorts. And then, as I said, he's worked on other shorts just in other capacities. So he has a lot of like physical production experience. And then, hopefully you're a screenwriter. Most of the people listening to this podcast are a screenwriter. So if you can marry that, experience in production with a background in screenwriting, I think you could produce, a good short film and then hopefully ultimately a good feature film. But I worry when I hear stories of people, doing their feature film and putting it on credit cards or mortgaging their house or something like that. I think that's an awful big risk. And especially if you don't have that experience and you don't really quite know what you're doing, there's going to be a learning curve. And most likely your first film is not going to be that great. And that's fine because that's part of the learning process. I'm sure his first short film probably wasn't that good. But after a few years of working at it, and now he's done this feature film, which is very, very good. So anyways, that's the show. Thank you for listening.